My fiancé chose his ex's dog funeral over me. I always thought I knew what betrayal looked like. I thought it would be obvious, cheating, lying, a huge blow-up fight. I never imagined it would come disguised as a funeral for a dog. My name is Sarah. I'm 27, and until recently, I was engaged to John, 29. We'd been together for 3 years, engaged for 6 months, and our wedding was planned for later this year. John had an ex-girlfriend from college named Emily. They broke up years before I ever met him, but somehow they stayed close. Too close. I never liked it, but I tried to be the cool fiancé, the one who trusted her partner completely. I swallowed my doubts, even when John seemed just a little too invested in Emily's life. Emily had a dog. An old golden retriever named Popper. John loved that dog. Honestly, I think he mourned leaving Popper in the breakup more than he mourned leaving Emily. Fast forward to last month. I was driving home from work when another driver ran a red light and plowed into the side of my car. Everything after that was chaos. Metal crunching, glass shattering, the spinning blur of headlights. The next thing I knew, paramedics were pulling me out of the wreck. My car was totaled. I was in shock, with a concussion, a fractured arm, and internal bruising. They rushed me into an ambulance. I was terrified. I needed John. At the crash site, a paramedic found my phone and called my emergency contact. That was John. He didn't answer. They tried again. Still nothing. Finally, they reached my sister, my secondary contact, who rushed to meet me at the hospital. While I was being examined in the ER, my sister kept calling John. Hours later, she finally got a text back. Not a call. Not even to me, just a text to her. He wrote, "I'm at Emily's dog's funeral. I can't leave. Emily needs me more right now." Yes, you heard that right. My fiancé knew I had been in a car accident, knew I was in the hospital, and decided to stay at his ex-girlfriend's dog's funeral instead. When my sister showed me that text the next morning, my heart monitor spiked so high a nurse rushed in. I honestly thought I might pass out. Hours later, after the so-called funeral was over, John finally strolled into the hospital, putting on an anxious, concerned face. "I came as soon as I could," he said. I stared at him, barely believing the words leaving his mouth. "As soon as you could?" I snapped. "You chose a dog's funeral over me. Your fiancé. In the hospital." He got defensive. "You don't understand, Sarah. That dog was family to Emily. She needed me. I promised her I'd be there." I couldn't listen. I told him to leave. The man I thought I would marry had abandoned me when I needed him most, and he was trying to justify it. Part 2, Calling off the wedding. I spent the next few days in the hospital, stewing. Every time I replayed that text message in my mind, I felt rage surge through me. When I was discharged, I finally answered his calls. I told him straight, "The wedding is off." He exploded. "You're overreacting. You weren't dying. You were getting care in the hospital." Emily was devastated. She had no one else. "She needed me more than you did." That was it. The line that broke whatever was left of my patience. I told my family. With their support, I officially called everything off. I arranged to move my belongings out of John's apartment with friends as backup. Where was he when I told him? At Emily's house. Of course. But I didn't just cancel the wedding quietly. No. I wasn't going to spend weeks dodging questions, making vague excuses. I wanted the truth out there. So, with my sister's help, we drafted a short message and sent it to all 100 wedding guests. We mailed printed notices to older relatives. And I posted one single sentence on Facebook. The wedding of Sarah and John has been cancelled due to the groom's decision to attend his ex-girlfriend's pet's funeral instead of being at the hospital after the bride's car accident. Petty? Maybe. Honest? Absolutely. The fallout was immediate. My family spread the word, his relatives were horrified, and within days, everyone knew exactly what had happened. John's parents, who had invested heavily in our wedding, were livid. His mother cried for days. His father told him, "If you can't even show up when your fiancé is in the ER, then you're no son of mine." John went into full-blown damage control. He accused me of ruining his reputation, of humiliating him. He texted angrily, "You're destroying my life out of spite." But the truth was simple. He destroyed his own life. I just refused to cover it up. Part 3: The Cheating Revelation. For a while, I thought the dog funeral was the ultimate betrayal. I was wrong. A week later, I got a message on Instagram from a woman named Hannah, a friend of Emily's. She told me something I had half suspected but never confirmed. John and Emily had been sleeping together. Not just once. 4 months. At least since the dog got sick. Hannah even sent screenshots of conversations with Emily. In one, Emily admitted, "I hate that we ruined his life. If we'd just controlled ourselves, this wouldn't have happened." It all clicked. The constant excuses, the endless time he spent at Emily's, the way he prioritized her emergencies over mine. It wasn't just about a dog. He was cheating. He had been cheating the entire time we were planning a wedding. When I read the screenshots, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat in silence, strangely calm. Because deep down, I already knew. I told John's mother. She was mortified. She told me to keep the engagement ring, to do whatever I wanted with it, that he no longer deserved it. I eventually gave it back to her, because it was a family heirloom. But her support meant the world. When John finally tried to defend himself, he sent me an email. He admitted to messing up with Emily but claimed it was only a few times. He said he was lonely, that I worked too much, that he never meant to hurt me. Then he accused me of humiliating him. "Are you happy now? My parents won't speak to me. You've ruined my life. Congratulations." Reading that email, I actually laughed. He wasn't sorry. He wasn't capable of accountability. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Part 4: The Aftermath and Moving On. In the months that followed, I focused on healing. My arm healed. I started physical therapy. I even got a new car. John, on the other hand, fell apart. His parents cut him off. He lost financial support. He crashed on friends' couches. Even the buddies who initially defended him backed away once the cheating came out. And Emily? Word was that she and John were on again, off again, fighting constantly. Not exactly the fairy tale they must have imagined. Meanwhile, I was rebuilding my life. I took a solo trip to the beach, where I finally breathed freely again. I met with a therapist, worked through the anger, and promised myself I wouldn't let this betrayal define me. When I think back to that night, lying in a hospital bed, waiting for my fiancé to show up, only to learn he had chosen an ex's dog over me, I don't feel sorrow anymore. I feel clarity. John showed me exactly who he was. And because of that, I didn't just avoid a bad marriage. I freed myself before it was too late. Sparkle's closing line. So yes, I canceled the wedding. Yes, I told everyone why. Some say I went nuclear. Maybe I did. But when the man you're supposed to marry abandons you at your most vulnerable moment, when he proves that a memory of his ex's dog matters more than your life, you don't stay quiet. You walk away. And you never look back.